Hello everyone and welcome back to the Road project series. In this video, we will continue building the signs. This is the node we created in the previous video. Let me show you some improvements I've made here. Now there are more shapes in the shape node, including an arrow, a bump, and a snowflake. I have also implemented this section here to assign materials to different parts of the mesh. A base material, a background material, and a material for the frame. I have also made some material assignments in the text and the shape section. If you want to play around with these nodes, you can find the full project link in the description. Now first we will start creating our stop sign. For this I will need a resolution of 8. I will bring the radius out and change the rotation to 22.5. Fillet curve, bring thickness and border length out. And now for a smaller frame, I will multiply the radius for 0.03, then we will have a small frame. We don't need the shapes, just the text with stop. And we just need to adjust the size of the text. Something like 0.6 is perfect. And we will just need to bring out all the material sockets. And just like this, we'll have our stop sign completed. Let's make a group. And change the name and the type. Now let's create the speed limit sign. For this, we'll bring up the resolution a little bit, expose the radius, and also the thickness and border length. And now we will create a value to string node for the speed. Change to int, activate text, and this will be the value. And now we can change it. For the frame, we will multiply the value of the radius for 0.2. And now we will notice that if the sign speed is less than 100, it's fitting perfectly. But if it's 100 or more, then it's a bit tight. So we will create a factor to multiply the size of the text. And if it's less than 100, we will multiply by 1, so it will remain as it is. But if it's bigger, then we will multiply by 0.8. And now we see it's fitting perfectly. And this will be our speed limit sign. Following the same workflow, I've built these 7 nodes, each for one different sign. Speed sign, speed recommendation, the stop sign, warning sign, yield sign, and arrow 1, we can change the shape here. And the last one, the no entry sign. Please notice that I've exposed the height of each of these signs. This is something we will need afterwards. For most of them, or for the circular ones at least, it is just 2 times the radius. But for some other signs, with a more complex geometry, like the yield sign, I have used the apothem. If you don't know what the apothem is, please check the first video. We explain everything in that one. Now we have all our signs here, and we will create a node for a generic sign in which we can decide which sign to use. To do this, I will create 2 index switches, one for the geometry and the second one for the height, and then we will just connect every single one of them. These nodes will be controlled by a menu switch. So I will give them a name. And plug the output to the index so I can control them. And let's do some boring socket connection work. Now, if we expose the menu, we realize we are not changing anything because I forgot one thing. Let's correctly assign the index. Here we go. Now we can change the type and we see we have different signs. So what's next? Yes, we need to expose every single parameter of these nodes. And are we done? Well, almost. We still need to do some socket sorting, so this is not a chaos. Whew. And now we are done with the boring part. So, as you can see, now we have every single parameter exposed and we can change everything as we want. Thickness, border length, the type, the rotation, every single parameter for each of the signs. So the last thing I will add here is a transform geometry node to rotate the sign 90 degrees so the sign is vertical. Alright, so now that we have our general sign node, let's build the last layer of our mesh logic. To do this, we will start by implementing the post. So I'll start with a curve and I will expose the width and height. And I will give it some offset in the Y value so it's not interfering with the sign. Let's use the combine node, Y, plug it, and now you see the geometry is moved. Alright, let's fill the curve and extrude it. And now I will change this name to depth so it's not confusing. And the offset here will be the real height. Alright, let's give it some realistic values. And this is basically our post. Now let's implement also the option to deactivate this in case we don't want a post. Let's use a switch and expose the Boolean parameter. I would put it on top and call it with post. Alright, and now we can activate and deactivate. Let's join this geometry with the sign we've created before, just like this. And now we need to adjust the positioning set. To do this, we will use half the sign height and then subtract it to the post height. Just like this, the total height minus half of my sign height. This goes in the set coordinate, and let's apply the transform geometry node, connect it, and as you can see, the sign is perfectly placed, just a bit big. Let's change the value here, and it's looking good. Now, if you remember, we can also deactivate the post. So in this case, I want the position of the sign in set to be 0, and we can just implement this with a switch node. So just like this, it's working fine. Now I would like to implement also a second sign. So let's make some room and duplicate my general sign node. All right, there. It's placed on the bottom though. And let's use a switch node so we can also activate and deactivate the second sign. Alright, now we also need to place this sign correctly. In this case, it's a little bit more complex because we need to take in count the sign height and also the previous sign height. So to do this, we will start with the previous sign. First, we will take our height divided by 2, and then bring the post height. All right. And now on top of this, we also need to subtract the previous sign height. So let's bring it from the other node. Here, combine node, insert, and plug it in. Now, we should remember to activate it. And now it's placed perfectly under the other one. Let's also add another parameter here. I don't want these signs to be touching each other, so let's add a gap. We can just do it with another subtract node. Bring this number out. And call it gap. Now let's give it something like 2 centimeters. And now it's looking better. And this is working for all kind of signs we have. So if we change our second sign to another kind of sign, like the speed, then it's looking good. And this is what we have right now. And it already looks like a proper sign. In the next video, we will see how to create a text sign. And this will be the last part of our mesh design.